Katie, what's up?
Hey, Mark.
Good to see you again.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. We got 15 minutes. Let's make the most of it. Have you do a quick intro. And
Okay.
also, you mentioned you love red wine and chocolates. But I'm going to ask you, as part of your intro, what is your favorite red wine? And folks listening, if you like an adult beverage, let us know in the chat. Like, what's your favorite type of adult beverage? So, Katie, go ahead, though.
Well, I'm going to call you out on this one. And the reason is red vines. Red vines, the candy, as opposed to red wine, the drink.
I could have sworn that last time we talked, you were like, "Oh, red wine and chocolate," which I'm like, "Oh, that's perfect together."
It was early in the day. It was probably not a good idea to have red wine.
Oh, my fault, my fault. Well, please do an intro. You got an amazing background, and we're going to unpack some stories and examples from your just extensive background in the event space. But yeah, have you do a quick intro and we get right into it.
Absolutely. So I'm coming to you from the island paradise of Alameda, California, and I have spent my career mostly in software. I love me a software user. I just joined the events team working on event content at CyberArk, so I will also keep you safe. But prior to that, I was with several companies. You may know them: Splunk, Alteryx, Dell. Those may ring a bell. So I have been in the events industry focusing on software for some time, and it's my favorite place to be.
Love it. So let's get right into it. This intersection of how do you get your go-to-market teams, sales, customer success, product, marketing, really focused on using events as a strategic business driver. Chris talked a lot about this. Katie talked about it. The last two sessions hit on it. So when you were at Alteryx, you were sharing this great story with me before.
Mhm.
You had this example at Alteryx around how you got the company really invested in events. Can you just unpack that for us and talk about how you did that?
Absolutely. So, the story from Alteryx goes as follows. I think a lot of our companies talk about making customers first, bringing customers to the forefront of all that we do. Well, at Alteryx, they really did try to do that. And they looked at customers on a year-round cycle, which is something we in events just love, right? Can you think of a user conference being focused for a year-round cycle? Nothing better. So, what they did was about 9 months prior to the event, they surveyed all of their customers and they asked them to all the questions that they needed to know about their products, services, needs, hopes, and dreams. And then we were able to use that information to help drive our topics and our themes for our call for speakers, right? So we knew what to come to the customers with and what to offer them that would make our event that much more valuable.
Infusing the voice of the customer into that
Yes,
whole thing.
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh man, that's so good. You also talked about an example when we chatted last. It was with Splunk, and you did some very interesting things at Splunk, and I'd love to have you unpack these because when you think about Alteryx, I would call that example stage 5 maturity.
Mhm,
I mean, customer lifetime value, listening to your
mhm.
customers.
Yep.
That's incredible. At Splunk, you also did something that was like stage 4, getting into stage 5 as well. Can you unpack that a bit for us?
Sure. I think that we all know that the relationship with events and sales can be a great partnership or it can be a struggle. And the hope is always to make it a great partnership. And one way to do that is to put yourself in the mindset of those salespeople. They're busy, they have a lot to do, and so we need to make it as easy as possible to tee this up for them to hit a home run for all of us. Because if they make the sale, we as stockholders and stakeholders, we also win, right? So at Splunk, we were really lucky to be able to create the tools around events that made things easier for those salespeople. And that's not just at the front of the event where you give them an email signature, you give them an email, You talk about it in newsletters, but additional tools to continue that relationship. The event doesn't stop once the event takes place, right? It's the tools for on site, and it's especially those tools for post event. So I'm talking about those attendee insights that can really change the conversation. This is a much more mature event. You're able to say that this customer went to the event, went to these 4 breakout sessions, and then added a 5th one for a product they don't have. Let's have the conversation as a salesperson and find out, why are you interested in the product? It's a great excuse to contact the customer. It's also a good motion for that salesperson to understand that that relationship and that product experience may be expanding into an advocate relationship or bringing more people in. And it sort of, touches on the concept that I love so much, which is never event alone, right? So if you're in a keynote session and someone says something amazing, you want to be able to turn to the person next to you and say, hey, that was amazing. We should bring that back to the office and make it happen. So always bring an event buddy with you.
It should have been the tagline for this event, different, never event alone.
Right? Right? For sure.
But I love the point you just made about you enabling the salespeople with data.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's, sometimes obvious, but it's also can be hard. It can be hard to enable them with data.
Mhm.
Can you give us maybe like a pro tip on how you did that specifically? Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I've been super lucky to work for data companies, so that's also kind of a nice to have. But
True.
most of the folks that are on this call are likely with organizations that have some sort of CRM tool that can give you some information, and you have to be able to absorb that information and make choices and changes from that information, right? So one of the easiest ways is segmentation, right? We don't just blast everyone and hope for the best. We actually have conversations about what a certain persona or a certain channel will need that is different from the person next to them and the company next to them, because not everyone is the same. So it is important. You can do that both from segmentation as well as those targeted agendas, right? So if I'm a C-level person and I'm attending an event, my agenda should look different than the administrator whose hands are on the keyboards all day. So if we're able to give those things a place in our strategy and our timeline, we're all better for it, right? The segmentation may be complex. When I was at Splunk, we had lots of segmentation, lots of emails in the millions go out. And what we found there, though, is that the conversation was better. The content was clear, the copy was better, and the users were happy.
It's personalizing the experience, contextualizing
Mhm,
it, all those good things. Sugo definitely makes that easier for sure. How do
mhm.
you how do you make it super digestible at the same time? Like, when you were at Splunk or Alteryx or Dell, right now at your new company, how are you making it like so sales, like to your point, doesn't have to think? Is there anything that you could share on that side of the coin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to be able to understand the motions of your sales force, right? A lot of companies are split into, say, what I call the smile and dial, the folks who are on the phone following up on a lead, and they are trying to get volume. They are simply
Mm,
trying to set up a meeting, they are simply trying to get to an end goal. Whereas your strategic account managers, your larger account managers, they have relationships. They know these people. They know the spouses and partners of the folks that they work with, and they do dinners and events and things. So you have to be aware of what their needs are and plan accordingly, right? Give them the tools, those tools we talked about. So one of them may be a script for those smile and dialers to say, thanks for coming to the event. We loved having you. We see that you saw this product in a breakout. Would you like additional information about that? And so the more information you can give to those sales teams, the better their conversation is, the better their relationship is, the better their behavior is, right? So that's kind of one way to do it if it's a strategic relationship.
Mm.
They want to know as much about their client as possible. And so when you say to them, hey, they went to these 4 breakouts and they added a 5th one with the product they don't have, I can see them picking up their phone and saying, hey, let's talk about that 5th product. We saw you come to the event and can't wait to tell you about it.
Love that. One other thing I want to touch on is this idea that you just planted in my head, and I can't stop thinking about it, just like never event alone, which is what is the pipeline in the room? Not the people in the room, the pipeline in the room. Can you unpack that for everyone for a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit?
absolutely. So we were talking a little bit about the conversation of measuring your impact at an event, and obviously Nicola, who was here before, has amazing strategies for that and great reporting. I've looked at her website myself, but one of the things that transitioned our conversation at Splunk from kind of those stages of the event maturity model was really that we stopped saying there are 10,000 people in the room during the keynote. Great. That's wonderful news. If you were to say to sales and especially leadership, there were 10,000 people in the room, and those 10,000 people represented $10 billion worth of pipeline, they would suddenly become animated and interested. And it was because I think sometimes with events, we all know the expense, et cetera, but to think about them as a true revenue driver, as a means of getting out there and closing a deal with a customer. Events can do that. And folks were saying this earlier, which was you have to be able to have the conversation that executives are having. They're talking about pipeline. They understand how many people can be in a room. They don't really care about that much anymore. They really want to know how much does that room represent for us?
And you could probably use that to your advantage as an event planner leader, because you could say, look, it's 10 million in pipeline. Why don't we spend the extra 50K, 100K on this experience? It's gonna be worth it, probably, right,
Mhm.
Katie?
And for some events, I think what you'll find is some of these companies understand that as their event matures, and we all know that events themselves have a maturity level year to year, especially for those user conferences. But what we also have to understand is the fact that some of these companies have, as part of their GTM strategy, an account based marketing plan or an installed based marketing plan. And if you're not leveraging those at events, then you're doing it wrong. And here's why because if your marketing team is saying things over here and you're saying something a little different, or you're not speaking to the same audience, then it's a real miss. When you're saying the same things, your brand story, and you're saying it to the right audience, to that audience maybe at a client that has 100 users with the hope of going to 200, as opposed to a customer that may have 1 user and has been sort of barely hanging on. It's not that you don't have respect for that other customer. It's that you know that the pipe and the opportunity is so much more significant on the other hand.
Well said. And I think we just end it right there. Thank you
Excellent.
so much, Katie.
Sure, absolutely.
So much wisdom from, your is it, how many years? 15, 20? I don't want to, put an age on it by any means,
No,
but like
that's a
how much
secret.
wisdom?
Lots of wisdom,
Look, we'll leave it
lots
at
of
lots of
learning.
wisdom. I mean, it's just if you think about it, right? And you've seen something that a lot of people haven't seen as well, which is the evolution of the digitalization of events, which I think should be a follow-up session we do at some point. Because events have just completely transformed, over the last 2 decades through, I mean, this, but even in the event experience, right? The
Mhm.
digitalization of events is fascinating to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Big round of applause for Katie, everyone. Thank you so much. Don't forget to check out the 2 polls in the event as well. If you want your free event assessment from Sugo, Katie at Sugo is going to do that for you for free. See where you are in the maturity. And now Patrick is going to play an amazingly fun game with you all. And there's a great prize, winning some Apple AirPod Pros. Again, give it up for Katie. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thanks, everybody.